So, as a gay man, why don't you support Manchester Pride? Because that sounds quite shocking to most people.
Well, yes, it certainly does. And I think it's been quite shocking to most gay men who I say it to. I don't support them because they're far left identitarian lunatics with a queer and trans lens. It's not complicated to me because I've been studying this now for the best part of 3 years. But it's incredibly complicated for other people to get their head around.
And what does that mean? They're viewing it through a identity and queer lens.
Well, what the idea of queer theory is there are no barriers. None. And that's the scary bit. We're back, we're back in the 80s now.
Which means what?
Well, for example, Judith Butler in October or November of last year in an interview with Owen Jones said it is important that we break down all barriers, including the barrier between adult and child. Right, now we know what that shit means, especially the older gay men, because they've been around a bit. I remember how long it took us to get pi, dealt with. 2006 was when these guys finally went to jail. So these people have no sense of boundaries at all. And queer theory doesn't want any boundaries. And trans says that men can be women and women can be men. So you put those two together, you've got a free-for-all. Right, so Manchester Pride are pushing that, and anti-racism, which itself is racist. I'm currently doing the analysis and archiving their website, so I've got the full thing to analyze, which is a report I'm sending to the EHRC to prevent to the police, particularly after the events of the vigil, where an individual called for everybody to kill everybody. And what was the exact words? I don't say this lightly, but kill everybody in authority. What? What's that got to do with a vigil to remember people who died of AIDS?
And can I just say to people listening, this was somebody stood on stage who was an accredited speaker at the event. This wasn't someone from the audience shouting down a microphone. This was someone who'd given a speech, done a performance, and then at the end said, "Let's kill everybody in authority."
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely shocking.
It's insane. And then you had another group that stood up and accused the bars of being racist. I mean, it's just so it's all about power and oppression, and it's all about grievance. Now, I did a video which you may have seen about a particular essay that was put out before Pride by their EDI specialist, and it's just plain. It's like reading a jihadi script. It's absolutely insane. I've done the analysis for that. It's available on my blog.
I'll put all these links in the description of this video, so they can go to your Patreon, they can go to your YouTube channel, they can go to these essays you've already wrote on these topics.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. That'd be really appreciated. I mean, it's Manchester Pride used to represent me, and I supported them for over 20 years. Not anymore. We're done. They're more interested in pushing gender ideology. Now, you have to bear in mind that pushing gender ideology in schools, you can't do it. Gender identity ideology is a better way of talking about it, because gender ideology is a far-right trope, really. I've just learned that, so I'd have to change everything. But gender identity ideology is a better way to think of it. I am what I say I am. Yeah, well, but no, you're not, right? Gay men live with the reality of their bodies every day. And they live, especially older gay men, live with the reality of what that meant when they were born. So I was a criminal till I was 21. I couldn't have sex till I was 21. It's like most of these people that are screaming about this are 18, 19. And adults who obviously never left being 18 or 19 who were also screaming about it. So we can't have a situation whereby Pride is usurped by essentially hard left, equity-driven, power and oppression narrative nut jobs.
So are you saying that Manchester Pride now does not represent gay men and lesbian women?
Absolutely. Now, they'll say they will, but they don't. Manchester Evening News managed to report on Pride without mentioning the word gay or lesbian once. Now Alexander knows that, because Alexander's got a good eye. And Alexander's the guy that got kicked out of Pride at the vigil. When you get kicked out, he got a letter telling me he couldn't go. That's Manchester Pride writing to a gay man who looks after Sackville Park, by the way, is not allowed to go to Sackville Park to mourn the people he knew died at a vigil for gay men because he doesn't believe trans women are women.
Let's get into this a bit deeper. So for people who don't know Manchester Pride, it's a 4-day weekend celebration. It used to be a celebration of being gay or lesbian. And on the Monday evening, I think it's 7 o'clock, there has always been a vigil in a little park next to the gay village called Sackville Street Gardens. And that vigil was remembering all the gay men who had died of AIDS in the 80s. So it was about lighting a candle and remembering those men. Would you say that's a correct summary?
Yeah, well, it was those men that died in the 80s and those since.
And
So
since, yeah.
it's a celebration, essentially a celebration of gay men and women and others, of course, who've died of AIDS.
Yeah.
So it's always looked at what's the situation anywhere in regards to that.
So it was really, and it should be, a somber ceremony for the tragic loss of individuals. Now,
I mean, and the decimation of a generation.
yes, because you've said it to me many times before, where young gay men have said to you, "I don't meet many men your age," and you go, "Have a guess why?" And they never guess why.
They never guess.
And it's because AIDS killed all your friends.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They all died. Yeah.
So let's go back to the vigil. So when did the vigil change? I remember big changes last year. That was the first time I noticed on social media that it seemed to turn into clown world, really. It wasn't somber anymore. It was a party. Some woman got her breasts out on stage. They were shouting things. I think someone shouted "Black Power." It didn't seem to be anything more about the loss of men through a terrible disease.
Well, I mean, I'm looking now. My analysis now goes back to 2020. I don't want to take it back too far because 2020 is enough. And the writing was on the wall then. They had homophobes at the Human Rights Forum. It's a human rights forum at Manchester Pride, and they've got two renowned homophobes speaking. It's like, you've lost your way, kids. You know, you've lost your way. And that was 2020. And then they had a big screen, and this person came on screen to do a poem, and then finally went, whipped her breasts out so I can show you my cockles, I think she said. And then there was somebody on stage at the vigil going, shout Manchester Scream, as if it was a fucking party. And you're like, what are you doing? Right, the whole point of the vigil was 36 hours of party, right? Really heavy stuff. Let's just get it all, have a good time, dance, and do foolish things, and then we all come together at the end, and that's it. Everybody leaves. It's like, never forget what got us this, and they've completely eradicated that by allowing people with an agenda that is not the same as ours to become to the fore. But not only that, they mixed it up this year, so you've got a bit of both, and it's even worse. I mean, the most appalling thing that they did this year, and I was fuming about this, they took the pink triangle. Now, people will probably understand, but just so that people know if they don't, when the Holocaust occurred, as Jewish people were given yellow stars, gay people were given pink triangles, right? And those pink triangles were an indicator that they would be likely to be imprisoned or sent to a work camp or even gassed, right? They took the pink triangle and they put chevrons in it. They put the chevrons to indicate gender identity, ideology, and queer theory in the pink triangle, and then they superimposed the face of Alan Turing over it. Now, Alan Turing was given the same drugs as they're now given to children to block puberty, and he then subsequently killed himself. And these people are using this to push their foul agenda.
Something I tweeted the other day: new religions, when they want to conquer the old religion, they assimilate the old religion's traditions, and they take over their places of worship and places of importance. Because what a new religion wants to do is take over the congregation, but in such a simple way that the congregation doesn't realize it's a new religion.
Well, that's exactly what Stalin did. I mean, what kind of dictator would Stalin have been if he couldn't have exploited the religiosity of the Russian people who believed that the Tsars were gods? So that was it. So, I mean, it's not on the same scale from our perspective as gay men. You could look at it on that scale worldwide, globally, certainly. When I went to Egypt and I went to Karnak to see the temple, you could see where the Christians had arrived and tried to erase all of the hieroglyphics. They'd scrape them all off in order to replace whatever it is that's come before. That's how all cults have worked right throughout history.